he battled to a frustrating nil-all draw at Sporting Kansas City, dominating possession and chances but unable to find the breakthrough. Before that, we secured a solid 2-0 win at Atlanta, controlling the game and showing defensive resilience despite losing Center to injury. And in our first US Open Cup match, we comfortably dispatched the Westchester Flames, with Cho Hong-yu and Luis Olvera putting in standout performances. Now, we turn our attention to the next three, starting with the Open Cup clash against New England. It's our first trial test in the tournament, so we'll need to be sharp. Then, we head to LA to take on the Galaxy, a team that's always dangerous, before returning home for a key MLS matchup against DC United. 3 big games ahead, let's make them count.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 65 of Red Bull KloppBot here on Sean Does FM with the New York Red Bulls. I hope you're doing well and come up today. We've got our 4th round clash in the Lamar Hunt US Open Cup. We take on the New England Revolution, a half-decent team from our conference. And off the back of that, we'll probably skip forward and play DC United, who are just below us in a top of the table clash in our conference. But this comes off the back of the last episode that we did have where we took on both Philadelphia and New York City FC in some derbies here with the Red Bulls. So if you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. Since then, to be fair, for the most part, our form has been pretty good with playing 3 games. We did win the first one, to be fair. That's not surprising. It was in the US Open Cup against the team from USL League 2 in the Westchester Flames, so it did give us a chance here to put out a full rotation. Zhao Hongyu picked up a double, Luis Olvera and Julio Cesar off the bench. He picked up a goal as we did beat those guys 4-1. They grabbed a goal back there with 20 minutes left at the 69-minute mark. Nice time for them to get off a donut, but still it was a pretty comfortable win for us there. As you would expect, that's the reason we've made our way through to this 4th round, which we are about to play a much tougher clash as we take on the Revolution. Off the back of that, though, at Atlanta United in the MLS, this was quite a good win away from home. 2-0 goals there to Molina in the first half and MV in the second half. Good to see him getting back amongst the goal-scoring action now that he's fully back from his injury. Albeit off the back of that, we did draw away from home against Sporting Kansas City. And to be fair, those guys, honestly, not that good a team down in 9th in the Western Conference. Team actually I support in real life. They're not doing that well in real life either, although to be fair, they've just got a decent player and on a cash transfer, which I'm pretty sure might be new going into FM next year if it does eventually arrive, but a quite good striker they've brought in from one of the LA clubs. But in this save, they're not doing too hot, so a little bit disappointed that we dropped points there, albeit to be fair, before then they did beat the Galaxy, so maybe that result isn't too bad. They did lose to New York City, so that's not too good that we can't beat them. But seeing as it was away from home, I think we'll just take that one on the chin, especially as some players did need a little bit of a rest in that game. So we dropped points there for the first time since we took on Charlotte before yesterday's episode, but still in a good spot in the Eastern Conference. We're on top, 2 points clear of DC United and a further point clear of Columbus in Orlando with a game in hand. So fingers crossed we can make that count. And also currently actually on top of the Supporters Shield in the Western Conference. Colorado still absolute runaway leaders, but they have started to drop a few points with some draws. So it does mean in terms of the Supporters Shield, we're on top by the 1 point over Colorado, but on that side of things, don't have that game in hand. So fingers crossed we can pick up a couple of wins during the course of today's episode off camera against the Galaxy, who are doing decently, albeit not as well as expected, down in 12th in terms of the Western Conference, though they aren't that far down in 4th. But that DC United game, quite a big one, but fingers crossed before then we can get past the New England Revolution. To be fair, it's probably a game that we should be winning with these guys a full 14 points behind us, just outside of the playoff picture in 11th in our conference. A Free State Reputation Club, the manager from the United States, does like a 4-3-3, nice little mustache he has going on there. Captain is Lopez Munoz from Argentina, 2-star reputation, looks like a handy, pretty well-rounded player, so to be fair, someone that we probably do need to respect there who can play up front and in central attacking midfield as well as on the wing. So he's someone who's quite versatile, does look quite handy, currently wanted by Charlotte, not surprised considering he looks like a little bit of a Swiss Army knife. Fabinho, not that one, is the vice captain, the Brazilian defensive midfielder, certainly not that one, because he's nowhere near as good, albeit his long shots do look quite handy. Decent player, also wanted by some clubs at those ones over in Brazil, so we'll see how long he lasts there at the Revolution. But the key player, Benjamin Kramashi, who is someone in real life who's currently at Inter Miami in this save, went to Dynamo Dresden before the New England Revolution, brought him back before our first half season here at the club, albeit going to this game, he is currently injured, but could return in one day, so we'll see if they actually use him in this game, but certainly for an American player, a midfielder, does look quite good with that 4-star current ability and potential, attribute-wise quite handy. To be fair, the only goal one is determination, but for the MLS, he's quite a decent midfielder, so I'd like to think here in terms of overall quality, we should have the wood over the Revolution, but definitely, if he plays, Kuramashi is someone that we will need to keep an eye out on. Now, in terms of injuries going into today's episode, we've got a couple that are long-term. The first one isn't Genesis Utley, a tight groin, out for 1 to 2 days, so he'll just miss this cup game that we do play. Is wanted currently by Houston, but unfortunately his form actually off the back of the start of the season, where the KloppBot was quite keen on selling him, has been quite good. So I think now actually we might keep hold of Utley, but 2 serious injuries. The first one comes to our cup goalkeeper, so to be fair, just influences this first game that we're going to play. Christian Pacheco won't feature because he has some broken ribs. He won't be featuring in this cup game. Frigerio can keep his spot here for this clash with New England. But the big injury for our first team, Aaron Zenta, who is out for a couple of weeks with a twisted ankle, won't feature in either game in today's episode. And that's quite a big blow because we dropped down a fair way in quality these days for the backup in Joe Apple. So what we did with that, because we have put Zenta on the disabled list, which does mean we can sign someone to replace him for a couple of games and then waive him if we need to. So that's what we did. We bought the rights off of, I'm trying to remember actually who it was that we bought the rights off for this player, but we signed Tristan Moore, who is a left back, because no other decent ones in our squad. It must have been San Jose, as he came through their academy, that we paid about 40k in gear money to get the rights to this guy for, but an okay left back with a bit of potential. Hopefully he'll do a job for us while Zenta is out with that injury. Just make sure that if Apples picks up a suspension or also gets injured, we have someone who can do a job there at left back. So a little bit of an emergency signing there with that injury to Zenta. We'll see how much game time this guy does get. To be fair, if we're in a comfy position in any of these games, probably a good idea that we take off Apples to make sure that he stays fit and we knock down just one left back here for a little while with this Red Bulls team, because currently doing a pretty good job. Let's hope it continues here as we host the Revolution in the 4th round of the US Open Cup. And here are the team sheets for our first game in today's episode, this 4th round of the US Open Cup. Now, a couple of changes to our regular best 11. To be fair, not too many, but obviously Apples at left back with the injury to Zenta, and also sticking with Birchmas at left wing, still trying to get MV back into this team, and a little bit of a easy workload compared to what we usually would like to do, because he is still quite injury prone. With New England going with the 4-3-3, so we'll see how they get on here in this cup game. So far, they've been a bit average to start the season, so fingers crossed that we can make the most of that, especially considering we're taking this game quite seriously. We'll see if they're doing the same at early stages here, and Zanotti is on the ball, his first start for us in a little while. Floats that one far post, and then Basha Birchamus is definitely repaying our faith, starting him over MV. Heads that one home. We take a very early 1-0 lead. So off to a good start here in this cup game. Fingers crossed we can put these guys to bed nice and early and maybe save some players up for that Galaxy clash, albeit that is still coming up a week from now. So to be fair, most of these guys should be fit for the next couple of big games we've got coming up in the MLS. But a great start, 1-0 up inside 5 minutes. And we don't have to wait too long for the next highlight in this game. A corner for us here just past the 10-minute mark. We go near post for Tickfitch, but that time can't quite put it on target. So far this season, been looking a lot more threatening from set pieces. Unfortunately, that time we can't quite hit the target. But so far in this game, definitely the team on the front foot looking quite threatening. Now Zanotti again is on the ball, plays that one back there to Renier. Pirani back in there for Julio. Cesar does quite well there to make his way through. The defence gets part, so I think that's Buck, not Duck. But either way, Cesar for some reason pulls up while the rest of the team is celebrating. That looks a bit weird, but nonetheless pretty good finish from there to beat the goalkeeper at the near post. Pirani picks up the assist. Somehow Cesar there just teleports through Buck, and Nicholas in goal really should have stopped that one. Somehow it beats him, and we take a 2-0 lead. And we're just stuck around the last 5 minutes here of this first half, and eventually get another highlight here still with that 2-0 lead. Definitely a team on the front foot. New England so far, I don't think, have hit a single shot. But again, work our way here down this right-hand side. Zanotti on the edge of the box. Squeeze that one for Facundo Molina, who really is starting to find his goal-scoring touch over the course over the last couple of episodes, him and Leroy Sané picking up their form. Sané already was on a green raid, but now Molina should get on one. Zanotti too, coming back from injury, looking quite good, which is quite nice to see, because so far it's fair to say, since we've signed him, he's been honestly just a little bit average. Aren't we actually doing a bit better than this season? Albeit that's mainly been because he's been dealing with some injuries, but very comfy here at halftime with a 3-0 lead. We're going to take off Renier because he dropped down to a red heart there quite late in that first half. For Hausawi, also Sane, let's take him off for Jimenez, seeing as he's someone who's quite injury prone these days. And also, as I said, going into the game, Tristan Moore for Apples might not be the worst idea, as it currently looks like we're going to be pretty safely going through the next round of this cup with a 3-0 lead. And we're just about to make our way into the last 15 minutes of this game. At the AR mark, we did bring on Edelman. That was for Perane, but I think now it's time for us here to make our final sub. Of the options on the bench, it's Oliveira, Garcia, or Colin Moore. I think Garcia here might be quite useful to bring on. Still a youngster, and of course Zanotti is just coming back from injury himself, so I think that might be the smartest option here. Zanotti playing well, but let's give the youngster Garcia some game time, especially while Antwi is out with injury. One of the few chances he'll get to actually get some game time this season, unless one of those other right backs or centre backs is a little bit injured, because Garcia can also do a job at centre back. But be fair, we've also got some pretty promising players in that position. A chance there, I think, for Jimenez, and that one comes off the woodwork. A good effort there, just can't quite sneak its way to the back of the net. Garcia does earn us a corner, but we don't see it as we make our way into the last 10 minutes of this game. You can see being complete domination, New England, with just the 2 shots. They eventually get one on target. Was about to praise our guys, but now New England starting to come home a bit strongly, albeit far too little too late. Palacios there is on the ball, plays that one back there to Baketa. They knock it about here amongst themselves at the back, but definitely need to get a wriggle on, because it's looking like they'll get knocked out here in this 4th round. A long-range effort there from Palacios. A decent save there from Frigerio, albeit truth be told, that wasn't the most powerful shot. A little bit surprised he couldn't handle that one and just hold on to the ball instead of giving these guys a chance from a corner. But thankfully, we put pressure there on Di Pietro, floats that one far post. They take a shot on, and it's a good effort too. It comes off the woodwork, so a couple of chances there for both teams to add to their tally. Thankfully, we keep our clean sheet. That pass there, looking for Berchamis, is not on the money, but to be fair, we're in a position where it doesn't matter too much. A really good first half where we scored 3 goals. Berchamis saves her as well, as Molina put that game well and truly to bed before halftime. Once made those subs at halftime, this game didn't get up to too much in the second half, but we don't mind that. We'll make our way through to the next round of the US Open Cup. So definitely going a lot deeper in this tournament than the previous manager did with these guys last season. We'll see who we get in the next round if it's a team that's worth coming back to play against on camera. But a good win for us there, 3-0 over New England. We'll show you guys the highlights shortly when I take on LA Galaxy off camera before that top of the Eastern Conference clash against DC United. And here are the highlights from that game I played off camera away at the LA Galaxy. On paper, looked like this one should be quite tricky, but honestly, a very similar performance what we put out against the Revolution in the Cup, even though this one was away from home. Early goal there to Leroy Sané, then a ball that somehow got through Molina there, but found Renier, who could tap that one home. So 2-0 up here at halftime, and right off the back of the restart, Molina picks up a goal as well to make it 3-0. So another pretty good performance from us there. The exact same scoreline as that previous game, but this one probably a bit more impressive given the opposition, and also the fact it was away from home. So we continue to do pretty well against teams up near the top of the Western Conference here with this Red Bulls team. In terms of stats though, the Galaxy probably should have at least scored a goal in that game, but thankfully now we're just starting to keep a few clean sheets. Fingers crossed that does continue. Wisdom Ami, no goals or assists this time, but gets the man of the match there on an 8.0. So our defence all of a sudden starting to look a lot more solid off the back of it being a little bit shaky when we started the season here, especially in that Champions League towards the end of last week. But another one for us there, which does mean the table going into our second game in today's episode has actually changed quite a bit. We're now joined on top of the Eastern Conference, but it's with some teams who have played 2 or 3 more games than us now in the Columbus Crew or Chicago Fire, and DC United have dropped all the way down to 6 somehow. Not too sure how that's happened, but their recent form, that's how it's happened. It's been absolutely awful. The 1-0 loss to the Galaxy, also 3-0 into Miami. That was in the Cup though. A 1-0 loss to New York City. So hopefully that's a sign that we can beat these guys, especially with this one being again back at the Red Bull Arena. They did get somewhat back on track though with a 1-1 draw against the Seattle Sounders. It's fair to say, DC United, their good start to the season has just come to a very abrupt end. Fingers crossed we can keep that going here in this upcoming game. Eric Ramsey, the manager, a Welshman who also likes a 4-3-3, much like we took on earlier when we played the Revolution. Their captain, Ted Di Pietro, which is certainly an interesting name in American, 28 years old, 2-star reputation, looks like a handy player who can play midfield or up front. We'll see if he's any decent here in this upcoming game. Their vice-captain is from Finland, and Matti Peltola, who is a defender, come midfielder. A couple of good yellow attributes there in his mentals. The technicals and physicals, though, are a little bit average. We'll see what we can do here against him, currently wanted by Al Layed. We'll see if he departs, as they might feel they can do a little bit better there with one of those spots. But their key player, that would be Håkan Evgen. You'd imagine this would also be a DP, and indeed that is the case. Looks a little bit better in terms of the star rating at 4, but honestly, the attributes, they're okay. Is quite well rounded, I suppose, for a winger, especially at 30 years old, with one cap for the Norwegian team. But honestly, I think we should be able to handle these guys based on those players that we have just had a look at. So fingers crossed here, we can pick up a win, continue these guys slide down the Eastern Conference and go top of it on our lonesome with a couple of games in hand. And here are the team sheets for our second game in today's episode, where we take on the previously near the top of the Eastern Conference, DC United. Obviously, they've fallen away a bit off the back of the start of today's episode. In terms of us, Moore comes in at left back and Jimenez in the advanced playmaker role. That's for Apples as well as Sane, both on a heavy workload and quite injury prone. Did start a pretty strong team in that game against the Galaxy. Hopefully it won't backfire here against a team who previously have been doing quite well in DC United, but recently they've gone downwards. Fingers crossed that continues here. And just showed the 10-minute mark be the first highlight of this game, albeit so far stats-wise it's actually been DC who have been on the front foot. So fingers crossed here we can actually get the ball off them and do something decent in this first highlight. But so far DC actually looking quite good on the ball, but good work there from Julio Cesar to win that one. Plays it to Molina, who picks out MV, who's back in the team for this one. A rocket from just outside the box there with his left foot that goes straight to the top right corner and makes it 1-0. So that goes a little bit against the runner play, but we'll take it. Julio Cesar played the big part in that one. A good tackle from him to win that ball. Then Molina with some really good link-up play. That's definitely been a factor in him finding form in that striker role the last couple of episodes that we have made our way through. But we turn around there, a bit of a rough start, and take a 1-0 lead. And we just made the halfway point here in this first half and do get a highlight here. And this time we are on the ball from the start of it. Pirani starts to drive forward, loses out there to a tackle that forced Renier. A good touch on that one from Daniel and goal there for DC to tip that one onto the woodwork and keep it at 1-0. We'll see though if we can do something from the set piece. Unfortunately this time we go far post. To be fair, our set piece guy does say we should go far post as our more regular option. I'm starting to think we should change that to near post, because you guys have seen the goals we're scoring from corners. They're mostly from the near post, so maybe we'll change that off the back of this game, because so far that's definitely looking like our preferred option from set piece. But a few minutes later, and we have a free kick here. Take it just outside the box. A chance there for us. Unfortunately, that one comes off the woodwork. So a couple of times now, the woodwork has come to the rescue of Daniel and DC and I, but it does mean it's still only 1-0, but a chance for us here again from a set piece. This time again, we go far post again. We can't find someone. So as I said, maybe we switch our frequency of the near post a bit more than the far one, but a good chance now for MB from that ball from Molina, and we actually score from that corner anyway. So some good pressure that we put on there, DC United, and eventually we get some pay for it. MB gets himself on a hat trick just shy of the half-hour mark. Molina having a really good game so far. He's now picked up both the assists. That's a nice lofted ball there to the far post. Daniel probably could be doing a bit better with that effort there, with that save attempt, but MB puts it past him to get himself on a hat trick and make it 2-0 to the Red Bulls. And only a few minutes off that second goal that MV did score DC there. We're on the attack, but good work there from Zanotti to win that ball back for us. Thankfully, just doing enough there to keep it down our right-hand side. We go back to the Wisdom Army and now go forward to Julio Cesar, who had a big hand in that first goal, which we did score back to Tick Pitch. And now it is there Jimenez who goes back to Moore, who's so far doing a decent job in there as the emergency cover with that injury to Aaron Zenter. Thankfully, currently, it's not proving too costly. Both him and Apples are keeping us going there down that left-hand side. Again, we float a ball far post this time through Pirani, and MV completes a first half hat trick. He's well and truly back now as our left winger, who, to be fair, I wouldn't mind selling going to the start of the season because he has been quite injury prone and a little bit rocks and diamonds, but today it's definitely diamonds. He picks up a hat-trick in the first half, a second header of that goal, very similar to the one he scored only 10 or so minutes ago, and that should mean we're going to half-time with a 3-0 lead as we make our way the last 5 minutes here of this first half off the back of a pretty good start to the half by DC United. It's completely been one-way traffic, that goal that we scored off the back of the Julio Cesar tackle that did lead to the first of MV's goals, where Molina shuffled it on nicely for the first of his 2 assists. That was a big turning point in that first half, and I think we're actually going to make a lot of subs. All 5 of them will take off the players that came to this game on a heavy workload. So how are we at right winger, Edelman, as well as Ryan Lamb in defensive midfield, and both our centre-backs, Garcia and Moore, can get a run in the second half with that 3-0 lead. And 10 minutes into the second half, first highlight of it is unfortunately in favour of DC United. They go far post, and McNally will head that one home. And I actually think there he might have outjumped Colin Moore, which honestly should be illegal considering how tall that guy is. Indeed, that was the case. So I'm actually going to check here just how tall he is. Unfortunately, DC do break our clean sheet in this game. Maybe got a bit carried away earlier by saying all our defensive issues have been sorted. To be fair, he's 1.94 metres tall, so certainly someone who's not that much shorter than Colin Moore. So I suppose that's not cheating as much there from FM, but to be fair, we're 3-1 in front. If they're going to score, that's a good time for it to happen. And we go forward a few more minutes, and now we're thrown inside of the final third of our own. Garcia now on the ball. To be fair, he's probably the one I would have expected to get out jumped there from a corner, but not Colin Moore. That's a bit surprising. But to be fair, the guy against him was quite tall, but he goes back now to Garcia inches his way forward before going back out there to Moore down our left-hand side. Picks out MV, who's now looking for a 4th goal, carrying us a little bit today. Jimenez goes back to Lamb. Some good short passing. Jimenez with an effort. That one, though, comes off the woodwork. And again, a pretty good save there from Daniel to tip that one onto the bar. So that's now happened a couple of times now in today's game. The scoreline certainly could be a lot worse, but we float that one far post. Somehow the goalkeeper hasn't seen that coming, and Colin Moore makes up for getting out jump before. He bangs that one home and picks up his first goal of the season. And we've got our 3-goal advantage back here with 25 minutes left. Molina will pick up yet another assist. The goalkeeper there just nowhere near that far post, and Colin Moore way too tall to miss that chance. We get our 3-goal lead back. And going for about 10 minutes off by that 4th goal, which we did score. Now we're down the other end, though, for a throw-in to DC United. Unfortunately, Ryan Lamb there has brought down one of the DC United players. It looked pretty clear cut there. I think this one will get upheld as a penalty. Indeed, that is the case. So a chance here again for DC United to potentially make this a little bit tricky for us here in the last 15 minutes or so, as Fletcher does step up. To be fair, so far in the MLS, these penalties have been pretty good. It's a well-placed one. That one sends Figueroa the wrong way, and I don't know if that would have been stopped either way, because that one goes straight to the top left corner. Good penalty there from Fletcher to make it 4-2. But fingers crossed, we've got a big enough advantage that this one doesn't get too newbie late. There's a clearance there from the DC goalkeeper, who, to be fair, has made a couple of important saves so far in this game. Thankfully, we get that ball back, though, from that clearance. Zanotti plays it back to Garcia. Not going quite as well today as Zanotti as in that cup game, but now he is on the ball. Does get marked quite tightly, but will eventually put one into the mix there for Hausawi. Goes back to Edelman, who picks out MV at the far post. That makes it 4 goals today. He's having an absolute blinder. If not for him, we might have been in some quite big trouble in this game, but thankfully MV is having a standout game for us here in this second season. We are having at the club. It's been a long time coming too, to be fair, with the injuries he has been dealing with. When he's on, he's certainly on. He makes it 4 goals today, and that should see us through to a win. Makes it 5-2 with only 10 minutes left. And just about to make our way into 3 minutes of added time in this game. In the end, it's been pretty comfortable in all the games I've played during the course of today's episode. That one, DC did make a little bit interesting with those goals they did score in the second half. But to be fair, MV had an absolute blind there with 4 goals. Colin Moore also making up for the fact he got out-jumped for the first goal that DC United scored by getting one of his own. But obviously MV a blind there with 4 goals. Also Molina with 3 assists. Not a bad game at all there for our striker. Definitely quite handy at the hold-up play when he doesn't get the chance to score goals, which is quite nice. But that is a very good win. We pick up quite nice wins there in some potentially tricky games during the course of today's episode and get back on top of the Eastern Conference on our own. And it should also mean on our own on top of the Supporters' Shield as well, off the back of that 5-2 win. So a couple of nice 3-0 wins for us there during the course of today's episode over some teams who on paper looked a little bit tricky, albeit most of them did drop down the table during the course of today's episode, so probably could have done a different couple of games for this one, but to be fair, going into it, as I said, they were in pretty good form, but we've just done them there in those 3 games. MV an absolute blinder there in that last one, where we do win in the Atlantic Cup Derby. Didn't actually know that was another derby we had here at the Red Bulls, so thankfully did come back for that game. DC United were in some quite good form before today's episode. Now, not so much. They dropped down to 6th and are 6 points behind us, and we've got that game in hand. And also, that does see us, as I suspected, go 4 points clear on top of the Supporters' Shield. In fact, 2, because of course Columbus Crew in our own conference a bit closer than Colorado. But we do have a game in hand on most teams behind us. We're in a good spot early here in the MLS season. Fingers crossed we can pick up that Supporters' Shield. Obviously, MV absolute blinder there in that second game that we did play. And apparently, he's even better than Lautaro Martinez. Now, I'm pretty sure that Martinez is a lot better, so I'm not too sure there what our assistant manager's smoking. MV's decent, but I would still quite like Lautaro Martinez here in the MLS, but we'll see if we get the chance to do that in the remainder of the save. So far, going quite well here in our first full season in the MLS, but that will do it for today's episode. As I said, a couple of good wins there by 3 goals over some quite handy teams there in the Cup as well as the MLS. If you enjoyed that one, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. Now, we'll come back tomorrow. Let's just check out what we've got coming up here in the month of June, and we'll see who we take on, who's up there in terms of the MLS, because currently there's no US Open Cup game scheduled. Next up, we take on Philadelphia. As you saw last episode, not going too well this season. Now, I don't know if that's improved. They're down, if we check, in 13th in the Eastern Conference. To be fair, they have sacked their previous manager, now got an Englishman there in Danny Stone, but I dare say that's a team that we should be beating, so I might take those guys on off camera. We'll come back next month potentially for another game in that US Open Cup, the round off the back of the 5th one. Not too sure if then we move into stuff like the quarterfinals. Indeed, that's the case, so it might be coming back for a US Open Cup quarterfinal, fingers crossed. Or the 2 teams doing decently there who we play in the month of June, St. Louis City, who are 3rd in the West, and the Colorado Rapids on top. So I dare say currently looking at a St. Louis and Colorado double, depending on if we get a quarterfinal around one of those games. So it's probably going to be an MLS game again, as well as a cup game, provided that we get past Philadelphia off camera before we come back for tomorrow's episode. So until then, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.